Drag the correct translation to each absolute value function. Now, before looking at these specific absolute value functions, I just want to talk about translations in general. Specifically, when you have a situation like this, y equals absolute value of x, and then you have something like, say, y equals absolute value of x, and then you have a minus 3 in with the variable. So it's not outside where you have an up or down shift. If you had y equals absolute value of x and then plus 2, that would be a shift 2 up, and the minus 2 would be a shift 2 down, and I think we all know this. It's pretty easy to see that. This one, where you have the translation left or right, it's a little bit harder to visualize that one. So I'm going to do a little graph here. Y equals absolute value of x just by itself. Oh, let's do a table first. So we just have x and y, and I'm not even bothering with function notation at this point, just trying to keep it real simple. So x, let's do 0, 1, 2. And absolute value of 0 is 0, absolute value of 1 is 1, absolute value of 2 is 2. So let me go ahead and plot those coordinates 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. And the pattern continues for absolute value like this. And there you go, there's half the v, and the other half of the v would be going this way. So there's your y equals absolute value of x. Now I'm going to switch colors, and we're going to do y equals absolute value of x and then minus 3. Let's look at a table of values. And I'll just start with 0, 1, 2. Input is 0 for x. You're going to get y equals absolute value of 0 minus 3. Simplifies to negative 3, 0 minus 3. And then the absolute value of that negative 3 is simply 3. So there's going to be a 0, 3 here. Input a 1. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And then you're taking the absolute value of that, and it's going to be 2. And then put a 2. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So it's y equals the value of negative 1, which is simply 1. Okay, so here are our coordinates so far. 0, 3. So 0 and then up 3. 1, 2. 2, 1. And then let's do another one. Input of 3. 3 minus 3, that's 0. Absolute value of 0 is 0. So 3, 0. I'm going to do one more. What if I input a 4? 4 minus 3 is 1. Absolute value of 1 is 1. So 4 and then 1. So the v's turned around heading back up. Okay, so you can see here what happened. All of the points from the original absolute value graph have been translated 3 to the right. So I'll go in this way. So the question is, why does it do that? I mean, can we explain conceptually why when you subtract a number from the input, it moves to the right? Well, essentially, what you're doing is you take away 3 from the input. Starting here, let me switch colors again. Maybe black would be easier to see. Okay, so let me look at y equals absolute value of x. Start with 0, 0. That's a simple coordinate pair. What if you have y equals absolute value of x minus 3? See if I can explain graphically what's going on. Okay, you start here with an input of 0 for x, but then you're taking away 3 from it. That moves you to negative 3 over here. And your output going to be right here. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking this input of 0 and then you're assigning it this output that you would have had for negative 3 normally. So you're taking 3 away from the input. That means you're taking the output from 3 to the left and you're assigning it to the input over here, which moves it to the right. So this type of thinking is very complicated for some people. So if this doesn't really make sense for you, that's okay. I mean, if you don't see graphically, hopefully the table at least works for you. Okay, now let's apply this thinking to the problem at hand here. So we'll fade that out. Okay, drag the correct translation to each absolute value function. Now let's look at the functions first. It's probably the easiest way to do this. Okay, so here is this minus 3, that's 3 to the right, and the minus 1 we know is 1 down, so we want 3 right and 1 down. This next one, this plus 3, that's the shift the other way. So what you're doing is you're taking the input of 0 and then assigning it the output for the regular function for positive 3. This one's a shift to the left. And it's also up 1. And this one, plus 3, is 3 to the left, and then down 1. And then this one is 3 to the right and up 1. I'm going to emphasize one more time, the up and down is right here, and the left or right is right here. Okay, so hopefully that helped to clarify this translation business a little bit. If you have further questions, please follow up with your teacher.